Hi everyone, welcome back to Megan's Creative Arts. As you can see, today we have a pumpkin that we're going to do today. Hope everyone can see. Cute little pumpkin. I just used a cinnamon stick for the top. You can use an actual stick, or I've seen some people crochet little stems. So this one has 8 kind of sides to it. Has the more bumpy look, more like a traditional pumpkin. This one of course is in gray, and I will show you how to get this done. So you'll want a cinnamon stick or something to use as the stem. I'm going to use a 6mm crochet hook. I did use a 5.5mm for that one. I would suggest a couple of probably about 7 stitch markers if you have them. You're going to want a needle, as long a needle as you have, and I'll show you why towards the end. So, and of course your yarn. Today I'm going to go ahead and use orange, make it a little more traditional looking. So we're going to start with our slip knot. This is a tutorial and beginners can do it. I do suggest that you have at least a few projects under your hand or under your belt before doing this. This one was a little more difficult only because it is a lot. This is done in 8 sections. Whoops. So we do have to crochet 8 sections worth. And if you want something taller, you're going to chain more. If you want a shorter pumpkin, you can chain less. Because I'm using a bigger hook, the pumpkin does end up being bigger. So if you are using a smaller hook, it will be a little smaller. So it's just really up to what you would like to do. So I'm going to chain 29. All right, so I've got my chain of 29, and starting in the second chain, I'm just going to single crochet, and I'm going to single crochet all the way down. Now, if you're new to my channel, thank you for watching today. Please think about subscribing, and if you like these videos, please give me a thumbs up or a comment. That way I know what you're interested in. You won't see a lot of things that require stuffing, anything gluey. I don't do much of that. This was asked by one of my subscribers for me to do a pumpkin, and I have another pumpkin I will link below that's a little easier. This one isn't too difficult, it's just a matter of you'll see at the end it can be a little difficult. So for the first 4 rows, we are just going to be doing single crochets. Right. So if you did chain 29, you are going to be doing 28 single crochets across. This one does take just a little while to do. I'm almost at the end of my first row. Okay. So once you're done, you're just going to chain one. The chain one is just a turning chain, it does not count. And you're going to go back across and do more single crochets all the way across. So you're going to do this for 4 rows. So there's 1, 2 rows. So we need a total of 4 rows that are single crochets. And I will meet you at the end of row 4. Okay, and I'm at the end of row 4. So you should have something that looks like this. So for row 5 and 6, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And we're going to be doing back loop single crochets. So only in the back loop. The first one's a little harder to see, but here is the back loop. So if you're looking at the top, this is the front loop, this is the back loop. So we're only going into that back loop. We're going to do a single crochet in each of the back loops across. And this is going to give you a little ridge, which is where we're going to place some yarn at the very end, so you know where all your segments will be, because we're going to be doing this total of 8 times. Okay, once you get to the end of row 5, we're going to do the same for row 6, where we're going to be doing back loop single crochets across. And that is the whole pattern. So we're going to be doing 4 rows of single crochets, followed by 2 rows of back loop only single crochets. And we have to do that a total of 8 times. So that's 48 rows. Okay, so that's the end of row 5. I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and again do back loop only single crochets. Now if you're asking where are we going to use these stitch markers, it's right here. So when I did my first one, I kept miscounting my rows because it looks different on one side versus the other. All right. So I want you to continue. You're going to be doing again 4 rows of single crochets, 2 rows of back loop only crochets, and you have to do that a total of 8 times. So once you're done, it should look something like this. So here's all my segments. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it looks a little different on the back side, but that's what we're going to do. Now you are going to do all 8 segments except on the very last row. So I haven't done one of my back loop single crochets. So what we're going to do is, when you get to this point, so if you need to pause, go ahead. So again, you're doing 4 rows of single crochets, 2 rows of back loop only crochets, total of 8 segments. And on the very last row, you're going to chain 1 and turn. And then you're going to do the back loop single crochets, but you're going to end up putting these together. So I'm going to put my hook into my back loop for there and match it up with the chain row that we first started with. I'm going to pull it through and do my single crochet. So again, back loop and grab the chain from the very first row. I'm going to single crochet. So I'm going to do this all the way down. And since you should have the same number from when you started, it should match up all the way down. At this point, you can take off your stitch markers if you want. We don't need them anymore. Forgot to say at the beginning that you will need some sort of stuffing, polyfill, or I've seen some people use yarn scraps. Not enough to fill a whole pumpkin, but just for extra stuffing. Okay, last stitch. All right, now you're going to want an extremely long tail. Now you can't really see how long this one is. I think I made mine a little extra long, but you will see that it is kind of required for the weaving part. I'm going to take my stitch markers out because I don't need them anymore. Now, if you have a really long needle, you're going to want it for this particular project, I have seen them online on like Amazon, like I want to say it was at least 8 inches long. This happens to be the longest one I have, so that's what we're going to use. And you will see why in a moment, why we need a really long one. I think I made my tail really long. So, nice and tight. We're going to go ahead and weave in the bottom So I go every other row approximately. Basically what you're going to be doing is just tightening the bottom up. Pulling it closed. And then we're going to flip the project inside out and fill it with our stuffing. You just want to use that top row as you're looking at the side. So here's the hole. Pull it as tight as you can. I'm just gonna weave in just a little to knot it. Hopefully it stays mostly closed. If yours isn't as tight, like I can put my finger in it if I really want to, you can weave it in a little more, but that's really up to you. Go. All right, so we've turned it inside out. This is going to now be the outside of our pumpkin, and now we need to fill it. So again, I don't do a lot of things that require filling, so I don't keep polyfill around. I do have a couple of extra pillows. So I am actually just using the filling from an extra pillow we have around the house that we just don't use, and for some reason I never threw it out, and I guess this would be why. So I can use it for the filling on these. I do recommend, if you plan on doing more than one, to actually get poly filling. Not all filling is the same, but you do want to fill it as much as you possibly can. That's enough. And if you're doing filling like I am actually pulling it apart a little, because we will be, need a little more. We are going to be going through all this filling as well. Probably wouldn't have used brown filling there, but that's what I have on file or in my house right now. That's fine. I could put a tiny bit more in here, but we'll just leave that as is. So we're gonna close up the top just like we did the bottom, going through about every other stitch at the top. Does not have to be perfect. Now I am going to leave a little opening, again about the size of my finger here. You can see I can stick my finger in it still because that's where I like to stick the cinnamon stick when we're done. All right. So now comes the harder part, is see, might be a little harder to see, but these ridges are where we are going to put our yarn through and then feed the needle through to get the ridges on the project. So as I pull it tight, and you can do it as loose or as tight as you would like. I like mine a little tight, and that's why using a long needle is kind of necessary because we're going to be feeding this through. We're going to be feeding this through 8 times. This is off just a little there. And if you have kind of an area that the stuffing isn't quite filled in properly, I will show you how to fix that here at the end. But this is why I needed a really long tail. And if your tail is not long enough, you can just clip off an extra bit of yarn to use. But make sure you're pulling it tight each time. And I am just going through, whoop, going back and forth kind of diagonally. I'm not going down one side and then the other. could have filled this a little more. It's okay, I'll show you how to move the stuffing around once we have it completed. Down the ridge. All right. I think I've got all my segments. Yep. Mine's kind of lumpy there. And if you want a tighter top, this is where you can sew it in a little more. I'm just going to sew mine closed. You can just dip that in there. Now, to move the filling around, you can just use your needle and just move the filling around a little. Help fill in any of the spaces. This one did turn out a little wonky, but that's okay. Pumpkins are not always perfect. There we go. All right, make sure the stuffing stays in there. And then I like put my cinnamon stick in there. I've seen also, again, people use a real stick. And you can also add a little bit of essential oils if you want it to smell a little more like pumpkin spice or cinnamon or something else, whatever you'd like. Because again, this is your pumpkin. That is it. That side's a little wonky, but that's how we get the pumpkin. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, give me a thumbs up if you like it, and give me suggestions if there's something you'd like to see in the future. I'll see you later. Bye.